Oh, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Talk of the Tundra, your Green Bay Packers podcast as a proud partner of the Euroset Podcast Network and the Blue Wire family. As always, I am your host, Numac, coming to you guys fresh off a win off of the Detroit Lions on Sunday. Got a couple of cheeses to hand out, an extension to talk about, as well as this upcoming battle with the Washington Commanders on Thursday Night Football. Uh, to join me to talk about all that and more is my lovely co-host Jordan Tresky. Jordan, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well. Doing well. We are 2 days away from win all day for Thursday
Hell yeah,
night.
hell yeah. Ah, and PSA for you, lovely people: if you don't have Amazon Prime, you can
Mm.
watch the game on Twitch.tv.
Does that include Mr. Beast?
It might. I couldn't tell you who it includes, but it'll be Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit for sure.
Is there a Spanish language version on Twitch with Senor Beast?
I actually think there is a Spanish language version on Twitch.
Probably, yeah.
Regardless, but we had talked about that in our GSPN group chat the other day, and people weren't aware that they stream on Twitch now. From when the NFL started streaming on Amazon for Thursday night, they also do it on Twitch. So if you don't have basic cable, but you have a Twitch account, I'm like 99% sure they stream all Thursday night games over on Twitch. So go check it out if you want to watch it. Um, but big news that happened right before we started recording. So like there was a first time for everything, Jordan. News happened prior to
Mm.
recording versus after it. Uh, the Packers extended wide receiver Christian Watson on a 1 year, $13.25 million contract that will have him here in Green Bay through the end of next year. Uh, Obviously, Christian Watson currently recovering from his ACL injury and has been injury plagued throughout his rookie contract with the Packers. Um, a surprise for sure for you and me both, Jordan, that we saw this come through. Um, at all, especially because like I don't think either of us were even close to expecting it.
To be frank, it's not normal to see an extension happen days after your first game of the season.
Yep.
Like, it's not that there's a case for everything, I guess, or whatever the saying is. I just butchered that phrase. There's a case for everything, he says after saying there's a case for everything. But I one was just shocked. A strange time to have it on a Tuesday evening as they're getting ready for the Commanders. I'm not necessarily shocked that it was on the table. I think it's certainly a reflection of Packers getting ahead of themselves, knowing that there's a lot there. I mean, let's start from here. Since the Michael Parsons trade, I believe, what was the number? Wasn't it like 21 or 22 players are slated to be free agents for the Packers?
Yeah, it's a good chunk of them.
It's a good chunk of them. Christian Watson being off the table now obviously lessens that number by one, but it's still a lot of players that they have to figure out what the cap looks like for the Packers next year, going into next year. The Parsons of it all, it kind of reshuffles how they arrange the salaries, the percentages of the cap, yada yada yada. That we all knew, but it is just kind of this post Parsons flexibility of what you're choosing to do. So the fact that we're talking about a move made on September 9th and that affecting the 2026 Packers is very notable. It's also notable that it's Christian Watson, who, again, he's an injury plagued wide receiver. You mentioned it. He's currently on the physically unable to perform list. The earliest we'd see him would be after the bye week. So week 6 against the Bengals. Packers, I believe, had to make a decision on him after or during the bye week if they would see them or see him earlier. But I think one, it's just really interesting that this happened the way it did. I think it's probably a concession of Watson's camp realizing, do we really want to rush through a shortened season, take the risk of someone who already has faced plenty of medical risk in trying to get back on the field multiple times at this point, and after the biggest injury that he suffered so far, and how that could affect his payday or wealth moving forward. Um, I think I mean one it just shows the willingness to kind of concede that I don't know if this will necessarily slow down his recovery or ramp up to be on the field, but I think having that extra security certainly will kind of, maybe delay some urgency, even if it's by a very like 0.5% or 0.05% measure, I guess.
Right. No, I get that. I think surprise for sure. But I also think it kind of it's akin to like the Bobby Portis deal and the Gary Trent Jr. deal, and like where it's a gesture of good faith from the Packers to Christian Watson. I think like they recognize maybe it's not akin to those. I was just trying to stretch that comparison there. But regardless, it's a show of good faith to Christian Watson that they value him on the team and that they value his skill set, that they understand the hardship he's experienced in his career, and that they're not just going to kick him to the curb at the end of this year because of his injury concerns, and that they don't want him to come back sooner than um, he needs to or he should from this ACL injury because he needs to get on the field to prove himself so he can get another contract in the NFL. And so I think this gives both sides a bit of breathing room, lets Christian Watson, like you said, recover as much time as he needs, doesn't super rush back and make sure he's actually healthy so that he can come back and be effective because like Christian Watson when he's on the field is very effective. Like Matt LaFleur loves using him in every which way in the offense. And I think the vision is and this is a capital underlined bolded if he can stay healthy. Him and Matthew Golden are an insane pair of wide receivers. Like two players that can stretch the field but can also like get open underneath and can be used interchangeably in an offense. But they complement each other and so that like you gotta if you don't have really two fast cornerbacks, you're not covering one of them. You know what I mean? And so maybe that's the idea here is that they really want to see what Christian Watson and Matthew Golden look like together and if it's worth giving Christian Watson another extension at the end of 2026 or um, signing him to a new deal after next year. I think where I'm genuinely surprised that they just did it is that with the Parsons contract, the money just is funny the next couple of years. Like
Yes.
they have a window of 3 years to maximize the Parsons contract essentially. And to use a good chunk of that, like $13 million isn't nothing to turn your nose at when it comes to like cap issues. And so $13 million for a guy who again is oft injured is a risk I don't think we've really seen before from the Packers. Like it's definitely not their MO. You know what I mean?
I mean, look at Eric Stokes. Look at Eric Stokes. They declined his fifth year option last year, and
And
he
let
had
mm-hmm.
probably as many injury risks or like injuries since when he was drafted by the Packers as Christian Watson has,
Right,
if not more, I
right,
should say, with Christian Watson.
right. It's the other side of the coin. It's a tale of two guys oft injured at positions of need, and like Eric Stokes' talent maybe isn't as high as Christian Watson. Like maybe they value Christian Watson's talent more than Eric Stokes's, obviously, because Eric Stokes is doing just okay, right? He signed a new
Well,
deal,
he's in Las Vegas.
right? Signed a new deal in Las Vegas, and then got a new deal, but he's not a above average corner. I would hope Christian Watson turns into an above average receiver when he's totally healthy and becomes an elite receiver when he's healthy. That's just a big risk to take right now, and I just think it's very peculiar that they did it. I don't think it's a bad idea because I like Christian Watson in a vacuum as a receiver. It's just very interesting that under ed policy, which we could talk about this too, because we did talk about this Sunday. It came out in a report. I forget from who.
Michael Silver of The Athletic,
Thank you,
a
Michael.
longtime NFL writer. He's been on NFL Network. He's a very experienced
Right.
NFL writer.
So Michael Silva from the Athletic reported that under ed policy, he took the idea of trading for Micah Parsons to the Green Bay board, like the Packers board of directors, and said like, here's what we're thinking. Here we can do it money wise, is what he reported. Russ Ball said like, don't worry about the money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I guess this has happened for a while. Mark Murphy brought the idea of trading for Khalil Mack to the board, and they said no, which is like, I don't think we've ever even fathomed that thought, Jordan, that the board of directors actually has football say in things. And so
Um,
I just think it's interesting that now under ed policy we get this report that he went to the board for Micah Parsons, and they said okay, go for it, and like turning a new leaf, kind of having a new regime change. This is how we're gonna do it. We're gonna go for big swings under ed policy, and now they give $13 million, again, not an insignificant number, to a
yeah.
guy who I'm actually curious as to how many games Christian Watson has played. I would bet it's less than
Oh,
30.
I think it's more than 30.
But they give $13 million to a guy who has played 38 games out of his, I can't do math. 17 times 3 would
It would be
be 50.
51
Yeah,
or
51.
50. Yeah, because
Yeah,
they've
51.
had the extra game since.
And then 52 since he missed this week. But like a good chunk of those games wasn't entirely healthy, right?
No, 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 no.
Like he played injured often, which I think probably is part of it too, is that they understand that he's has played injured and he's kind of given his body to this team. I just think it's really interesting that under ed policy we've seen two things that we haven't really seen before as when it comes to personnel decisions.
I think to that point, we will keep talking about the ed policy change because it is indicative of an aggressiveness. It's not, it, you know, Brian Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur would enter lame duck years next year. It is
Right.
very imperative for the Packers to be successful this year for the entire, on field, off field synergy relationship between front office and head coach. The fact that Ed Policy is kind of spearheading this, and I think it's also notable that in the years since the interest in Khalil Mack, obviously that was 7 years, but we know of some board of directors that have changed. Like it's not just Ed Policy that has taken over from Mark Murphy. There is new blood on whatever elevation of Packers board of directors that have an input in football decisions that probably has changed the tune that in ways that we don't wouldn't understand or certainly wasn't present previously. So there's that factor. I think your point about it is peculiar because of the injury risk of Christian Watson. I'm going to be just go out there and say I think this is more important for the 2026 Packers than this year's Packers.
Correct.
I just think it's they've been around the block with Christian Watson. This is not their first rodeo with him coming back from some
Hamstring.
ailments or the hamstring stuff or having to go to a specialist to literally
Fix the hamstring. Like they
recalibrate his muscle density in his legs. Like this is how far gone we have been through this whole saga that like I think it's one to repeat what you said. I think it's a good faith measure on the team itself to continue to invest in him and that they understand what he's trying to get back from because it's not just it's a multi-year process. I think what's also notable in this is that it's more interesting to see the Packers' appetite to do something like this with a guy like Christian Watson when Brian Gutekunst said that they wanted to try to get a very team-friendly extension with Quay Walker. That did not happen before the start of the season.
Yep.
Romeo
There was
Dobbs.
something. I'm sorry to interrupt. There was something that Goody said before the season that they didn't get a fifth year option to him because it includes outside linebackers. So it really inflates the fifth year contract for Quay. That's some context as to why they didn't give him that number.
That is true, and
But
obviously
still haven't
that
given
is
him the extension. Right,
pre-Parsons.
that's pre Parsons, everything else. But
Yeah.
your next point about Romeo Dobbs is what I'm very interested by.
Yes. Romeo Dobbs is now it's you know, we know I'm this is baseless speculation. We're not, it's not even about this whole movie is not about Romeo Dobbs, but it is. It's just very interesting when they have this big draft class, these big draft classes starting to come up in free agency,
Right.
and who they extend when they do, if they do,
Yep.
says of their appetite to like it's an urgent matter. They
Right.
did it with Zach Tom. They obviously did it with Jordan Love after doing a team friendly extension last year. But Dobbs is a very interesting case where a guy that he's came back from a couple concussions last year. He also was suspended last year. There was some weirdness of like they've certainly tamped down on trying to not let how he feels about his time in Green Bay or relationship with coaches or whatever the matter is. But, you know, you can't help but read into,
You can't help but read the tea leaves.
yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Which
And
I think. Sorry, go ahead. Finish your point.
no, I think it's just again, this is the third 22er, if you want to call it that, from the draft class of 22.
2022 draft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Devontae Wyatt, Christian Watson, Zach Tom have all been
Decisions.
extended.
Yeah, decisions, not necessarily
Yes.
extensions.
Yeah.
With,
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Wyatt getting
Correct.
his fifth year. Um, the Dobbs thing is so interesting to me because he's been more reliable. He's been on the field for the most part. He has like
His best game as a Packer came
in the
in the playoffs.
playoffs,
Like he might be a big game performer, but
right?
there's obviously a lot to get to that and
Right.
yada yada yada.
It's just so interesting that they and maybe they do extend Dobbs, but I don't think like I think we said this about Christian Watson too. Like he's probably gone. We said this on the offseason because it seemed like that just seems like the Packers' mo. I just they have so many receivers right now, and we had this discussion all offseason that they don't have any that really stand out. Romeo Dobbs is a good receiver. He's not a wide receiver one or two, but like he clearly has value. Look what he did on Sunday. Like
Yeah.
he has value and he has sure hands. And so I think like maybe they get something done with him in the offseason, but I think there's a slim chance that he's a Packer next year. Slim chance.
It's growing slimmer. I mean, this is a team that
But the,
they
well,
have done team friendly extensions in the lead up to free agency. Like Isaiah McDuffie,
yep.
Keyshawn Nixon a couple years ago. Like we've seen stuff like that. The difference is they just paid Christian Watson average wide receiver market value
Yeah, they gave him
before they see him play coming
again
back from
after an
injury.
ACL injury. And like
Yes.
that's the biggest thing is that like his whole thing is speed, right? He's a dynamic receiver who's fast and can take the top off of a defense.
Yeah.
He's had back injuries, he's had hammy injuries, and he's had an ACL tear.
Torn
And,
ACL.
and I'm not trying to beat down on the guy. I'm really not. But like, if speed's your thing, that's three injuries that really limit your speed. And if they can figure out different ways to use him, that's great. Like I'm all for it. And if maybe he's not the speed guy anymore. Maybe that's Matthew Golden that they turn to since he is faster. And they try to use Christian Watson in different ways. But like, it's very interesting. I think this produces a lot of questions for the team this offseason, as well as how they approach the draft next year and how they approach 2026's offseason.
Yeah, I mean,
Because I think like at minimum next year they go in with Christian Watson, Matthew Golden, and Saban Williams.
and Jada Reed.
Sure, he's like fourth on the pecking order for me right now as like surefire guys on the team next year. Oh, and
Well, I
and
mean,
and Octavia Wicks.
and Wicks. Yeah, yeah.
But like,
But it is. I think what we're coming to really post Parsons again. There are only a handful of guys. This is true of the NFL. We kind of have to frame it this way. There are only a handful of guys that you're locking up long term that you can put on your cap and say this is our 3 to 4 year window. You got Parsons, you got Jordan Love, you got Zach Tom, maybe you have Elton Jenkins, maybe you have like go on down the line. But like, how far does that number go? It's maybe 15, maybe 17. If
I mean,
you have a good team, you're pushing 20. But that,
right?
yeah, I mean, like everybody else is essentially playing for 1 year deals. That's why it's so important to read the language of these contracts because 4 years, 110 million or whatever figure it is always looped in with guarantees and how the teams structure those things. So everything is still kind of a negotiation for, 80% of the NFL, if not a higher number. So with that in mind, again, it is only a 1 year extension. It's still they have a lot of flexibility, but you have a surplus of guys that are going to be heading into free agency. And theoretically, how the Packers have normally operated is that they invest in the guys that they draft, provided that they have developed them, hence the draft and development. So I think it's really interesting to put their it's not all their chips, certainly, but it's a pretty big chip in that we want Christian Watson here in Green Bay for this year and next. I mean, essentially for next year, and to see what this looks like with, at maximum so far, a second year Matthew Golden,
Right.
uh, two incoming free agents between Jayden Reed and Dontavian Wicks,
Yeah.
Savion Williams going in a second year, whatever that looks like.
Non-rookie deals signed past 2026 are these players: Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs. I said past 2026, so then not Christian Watson. Um, literally no receiver.
Yep.
Uh, Aaron Banks, Zach Tom, uh,
Parsons,
Parsons, Rashawn Gary, and that's it.
not McKinney.
Oh, I haven't gotten down there yet.
Oh,
Nate Hobbs
Nate Hobbs, yeah.
and McKinney
So that's what,
and
10,
and McManus, so 11.
11 guys. Fucking.
And again, no receivers, none.
Yeah,
Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave are
that's another guy
contract
that's going
years
to get.
contract years next year.
Yeah.
Like it's just as for like asset allocation, it's so interesting to me that they did this. It's just so
That money, too. Tucker Kraft is a very important player to
right.
figure in this because we'll be, after the season ends in February, hopefully, and they go to wherever the Super Bowl's being played. I think
Santa
it's
Clara,
Levi's.
Santa Clara.
Thank you for the. I'm glad you're not saying San Francisco. Um, that's a guy that everybody's gonna be claiming for an extension,
Right. He's the next guy up.
and that, granted, that extension wouldn't go in until 2027, but
Still.
still, it just it's they're not letting it be a sunk cost. Let's just say that
Yeah.
the
So
Christian Watson
yeah.
deal.
So alrighty. That's 25 minutes on Christian Watson. Cause
That might be more minutes than we see him on the field this year. No, I'm joking,
Jordan.
joking.
Alrighty. Let's get into the we can't even get into the Commanders game yet. We have to give out cheeses.
Jeez.
If you're new here, if you're a new listener, each week we give out cheeses to our uh, top players of the week. It is typically three. Sometimes it's two if it's in a particularly abysmal game. Sometimes it's four if it's a particularly amazing game. I can tell you right now, it probably is going to be four this week. So, um, surprisingly enough, we have no offensive candidates this week. We decided to pass on Jordan Love for a candidacy this week. So all the nominees are on the defensive side of the ball. First up is Rashawn Gary, 7 tackles, three of which were solo, 5 pressures, 1.5 sacks, a tackle for a loss, 6 stops, and 3 QB hits in 46 snaps. Next up is Micah Parsons, 1 tackle, 3 pressures, a sack, a tackle for a loss, and a QB hit in 29 snaps. Uh, Lucas Van Ness, 4 tackles, 1 solo, 1 tackle for a loss, 2 pressures, a half a sack, and a QB hit. Colby Wooden, 6 tackles, 3 of which were solo, 2 tackles for a loss, a pressure, and a QB hit. Edgerrin Cooper, 12 tackles, 8 solo, 8 stops, 65 snaps, which was all the snaps on defense. And Quay Walker, 9 tackles, 6 of which were solo, 2 tackles for a loss, 4 stops, and a PBU, and playing all the snaps as well. So, Jordan, do you have a lock or two? I think Edgerrin Cooper is a lock for sure.
Yeah, let's lock him in.
Yeah. So he's getting one. Rashawn Gary's probably a lock. He had a really good game.
Yeah, that I'm gonna
Six,
say Rashawn Gary.
6 stops is an incredible number.
Insane for an edge guy. I should have probably dug in more just to see if he had um that many stops in a game previously
Yeah,
since they've been tracking that. But NFL Pros game logs are not as
they're hard to navigate.
easy, hard to navigate, and they only have it for the current season, which was only one game. I think it okay. This is where it gets really tough. A lot of love for Lucas Van Ness,
Yep.
not certainly justified. I think Colby Wooden. I think Colby Wooden's game is as influential to why the Lions were as poor running the ball
Yep, I would agree
as
with
it
that.
was Lucas Van Ness.
I'd agree with that.
So I would probably lean Wooden more,
Even though he didn't have a sack,
even though he didn't have the snack. I was about to say a snack.
he is a snack.
He is a snack, especially when he lines up on the nose. Um, uh, I think this is so. If we're gonna play this game, because we have to be a little judicious.
Yep,
If we're going with four,
which we
who are
are.
your two?
Damn it.
Just drop anything that I said. Like I don't want
I
to
know.
lean you in one way or the other, because I know my two.
Hype factor tells me Micah and Quay.
Quay.
I think I mean, Rashawn had 6 stops. Quay had 4.
I know.
And he this all these guys played really well. And part of me is like,
It's
do
like
you
trying to pick your favorite children. It's your second
do
and fourth one. You
do
know what I mean?
do you get a cheese for being hyper efficient like Micah Parsons did? Do you get a cheese for exceeding expectations like you did for Lucas Van Ness? Do you get a cheese for showing up in your first game as a nose tackle like Colby Wooden did and kind of replacing Kenny Clark like he's meant to do? Do you get a cheese for just being a dominant force at linebacker? Like it's
I think this is the other factor. I hate penciling this in, but you have broken me down over the last couple of years of doing this.
yeah,
You kind of have to play this predictive. I know Ty and Rohan do it too with
the stock
stocks.
market.
You do the predictive. Is this going to be their best game of the year? Are
Right.
we going to be? Are we
That
going to be talking about this with Colby Wooden? I certainly hope so. I think that'd be great.
yeah. But
There's still like a benefit of the doubt factor that you
based
have to.
on what we've seen from them before, which is why
Yes.
I
So
think we don't give one to Micah Parsons, even though it'd be fun to
God, I just want to
because
claw my ass with razor blades for not doing that. No, I'm just
right
joking.
because obviously he's Micah Parsons, but
I
I
know.
think he's gonna have better games. He's gonna play more snaps. But
That's the other thing.
between Colby Wood and Lucas Van Ness and Quay Walker, I will let you choose who we don't give it to because I think I'm fine with all three of them.
So you have persuaded me no Parsons because that was gonna be my lock. I'm gonna go. Let's go Wooden because I do think that's as. I mean, it's his best game as a pro.
Yeah. And so then, are you inclined to go Lucas Van Ness for the sole purpose of probably his best game as a Packer?
Yeah. Yeah, because I do think I'm sold on Quay Walker when healthy is an impactful defensive player and middle linebacker or whatever you want to call him, off ball. Like
Right.
I think we have been on this train from the middle of the season last year to now, where Quay Walker is actually a positive affecting football player.
Mm-hmm.
Lucas Van Ness, I really don't know what to expect of him. I know
Nope.
Micah Parsons is talking him up like crazy.
He
Have
is.
you seen these quotes?
I have.
He's talking about
Yes.
him being Julius Peppers and
Yeah.
Cameron Wake, and it's like, Micah, I get it. You just got here.
Yeah.
We've seen him play for 2 years. Like I know, I know. Um,
For
I
context, Lucas Van Ness had one cheese last year.
Jesus.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna let's I'd lean Lucas Van Ness over Quay.
Alrighty. That sounds good. So, cheese recipients this week: Rashawn Gary, Lucas Van Ness, Colby Wooded, and Edgerrin Cooper. Congratulations, fellas. Go have a
Go
nice
Pack Go.
slice of go have a nice slice of Munster. Um, alrighty, let's get into the this week of football. Uh, Packers Thursday night football against the Washington Commanders, the Fighting Jayden Daniels, some might say. Uh, the Packers are 20, 16, and 1 when playing against the Washington Commanders, formerly the Washington Redskins. The Packers are 2 and 1 against the Commanders under Matt LaFleur. The last matchup between the two teams was a loss, a 23 to 21 defeat in Week 7 of the 22 season. Um, the Packers' record on Thursday night games, while on 4 days rest between games in the Matt LaFleur era, is 4-1. So they're definitely always ready for these games. The injury report, if you can imagine, is lengthy because it always is when it comes to the Packers. So
Yes.
let me take a decently sized breath here as we go through it, and not to be oh never mind, the Commanders one isn't as long. The Packers injury list: limited in practice. Safety Zane Anderson recovering still from his knee injury. Aaron Banks and Brenton Cox Jr. were both DMPs with an ankle and a groin for Brenton Cox Jr. Matthew Golden was a full participant after being predicted as limited in Monday's practice, even though they didn't practice. Nate Hobbs was limited with his knee injury recovery from that surgery still. Jordan Love was a full participant with his left thumb. Bull Melton has a shoulder injury. He was a DMP today. Micah Parsons.
He left the game um middle of Sunday,
I
which
didn't.
was it came
Yeah,
out of nowhere.
I didn't see that. So hopefully he's good because that's a thin room. Um, Micah Parsons' back injury, he's limited. I'm sure they'll bump up his snap count a little bit this week. Jaden Reed's foot, he was limited in practice. Baron Sorrell's knee, he was limited in practice. Zach Tom with his oblique injury that he suffered on the fake interception on Sunday, he was a DMP. We'll have comments from Matt LaFleur in a second about Aaron Banks and Zach Tom. Quay Walker has a quad injury. He was limited in practice. Daniel Willen kicked the ball too hard. He has a right knee injury. Thankfully, he was a full participant in practice on Tuesday. But it was a walkthrough, so
Yeah.
whatever. Um, and then David Wicks with his calf injury is a limited participant as well. For the Commanders, tight end John Bates has a shoulder injury. He was a full participant. Um, I believe, yeah, they had a walkthrough as well. So these are all just approximations. Wide receiver Noah Brown has a knee injury. He was limited. Quarterback Jayden Daniels has a wrist injury. He was a full participant in both days of uh, the walkthrough. Running back Austin Eckler has a shoulder injury. He was limited. Darren Payne has a calf injury. He was a DNP, uh, but he was a DMP today. He was a full participant with a calf injury on Monday. He had rest today. Um, and then punter Tressway was a limited participant in practice with a back injury, and Dietrich Wise was a full participant with a knee injury as well. Um, I said this pre-pod, Jordan, but the Week 5 bye, while annoying because we only have 4 weeks straight of Packers football, they have to take a little break, which is always annoying, is going to come at a good time for this team. because
Yeah,
holy moly, holy moly,
including the people that we have not talked about. Like, I mean, well, we had talked about Chris Watson, but Marshawn Lloyd,
right?
um, someone else
Hobbs,
big, Hobbs. Yes,
yeah,
who knows if we see him? Uh, yeah, B. I think they have to make decisions on elevations. It usually is the Saturday before the game. I don't know how it is with the Thursday night game.
yeah. I don't know,
Yep. That might be tough. That might be Thursday afternoon at the very latest, like a
right?
couple hours before kickoff. So probably keep our eye on there. I think Micah Robinson being elevated once again is almost certainty.
Yeah, especially with Bull Mountain's injury.
Yeah, two corners now
Yeah.
down, possibly.
Matt LaFleur did say in his press conference on Tuesday that decisions for both Aaron Banks and Zach Tom will be made to as close to kickoff as possible. Um, I'd imagine they're going to let Zach Tom not play. Not like let, but they'll be cautious with him with his oblique injury, being the critical piece that he is, and it being week 2. A big game, regardless, though, against a Super Bowl hopeful, much like the Packers are. Like this is a pretty stout matchup for a week 2 Thursday night football game. So the Packers need, I should say need to. It'd be a it, we'll talk about this through. I'll hold that point. But regardless, Zach Tom probably, I would say, not playing. Me and my fake medical license and such, you're doing fake injury reports and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know if either of those guys would play. You know what I honestly wouldn't mind is just letting Jordan Morgan and company getting some reps just to see. You know, like let Jordan Morgan slide in at left guard, have Kennard go over to right tackle for a game, see how he can hold up, and just see what this line looks like when they have injuries because they're going to have injuries as we've already experienced.
Absolutely.
So, all right, let's start with some keys to the game. First up, the Parsons effect. This is from Next Gen Stats. Jared Goff got rid of the ball. This is an insane stat. Jared Goff got rid of the ball more than a half second quicker when Parsons was on the field than when he was off. 2.8 seconds to 3.36 seconds. That just shows you the absolute impact that he has on rushing the passer. Um, Only 17 snaps for Parsons on the field compared to the 43 pass rush snaps that Packers had as a whole. He only did play 45% of the snaps, and even lobbied for more in the second half, which is why he was on the field even when the game was well in hand. And Jordan had this fun little stat uh, coming out of a Sunday's game. Packers Lions was the most watched CBS regular season game in 27 years.
Wild.
That's insane.
I actually, let me pull this up. This is Drake Bentley from the Journal Sentinel. Um, there is the game that he mentions as the what was the rating most watched. This all is coming from CBS too, so it's like they have their they're well within their right of like be able to like promote that they had this many um viewers. Um, what was the game? Why can't I find it? Ah, this is a terrible segment. It's a terrible segment. I can't find it. It was like a funny, like random meeting of them. Well, that was a dud. I swear I just saw it and I cannot find it at all. Oh.
I've been muted for the past 20 seconds.
Oh, okay. I was like, are you just you're icing me? That's what I
No,
was.
I tried to find it too. My apologies, listener. I was click clacking my keyboard. Didn't want you guys to hear it. And alas, uh, Micah Parsons, a uh drawer of eyeballs to TVs, also drawer of fears in quarterbacks' hearts as they try and pass the ball. But leveraging that point against what Jayden Daniels brings to the table. Jayden Daniels, obviously NFL Rookie of the Year last year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, led the Commanders to two playoff wins and an NFC Championship berth, which they lost against the Eagles. Like an outstanding quarterback on the rise for an upcoming team, a team like I said that has Super Bowl hopes, and much like the way a lot of successful quarterbacks are going these days, is very dynamic outside the pocket and on the run. Uh, Going back to last year, he had 891 yards rushing on 140 rushing attempts. Of those 140 rushing attempts, 87 of which were scrambles, and that accounted for 669 yards. So about 2/3 of his rushing yards last year were while scrambling. Um, what he did last week against the Giants, he threw for 19 of 30 for 233 passing yards as a passing TD and 301 yards of total offense, 68 rushing yards on 11 carries. He faced the third lowest pressure rate of any QB during week one, and the Giants blitzed on 32.4% of the Commanders' 37 dropbacks. Uh, Meanwhile, the Packers recorded only the second lowest blitz rate, only behind the Cincinnati Bengals during week one. So, with Micah Parsons and this front four that we've talked about, front seven, we'll say, this past week. How are they able to contain Jayden Daniels? Like I think setting the edge is going to be critically important for this team, making sure that no one's overextending, going behind the quarterback, and setting that edge to keep Jayden Daniels in the pocket, and not letting him beat you by throwing the ball because he is a good thrower of the football and he has weapons like in Zach Ertz and Terry McLaurin. Like those guys are, and Debo Samuel now, which he had a really big game on Sunday.
Hmm.
They were targeting him a lot. Um, But making sure that I'm not worried about Micah Parsons. Like he'll set the edge and he'll be just fine. But then on the flip side is making sure that Rashawn Gary and Lucas Van Ness are locked into their roles as well. Because going back to last year, Lucas Van Ness had a very high propensity of overextending on his rush, getting too far behind the quarterback, allowing the quarterback to step up in the pocket, escape to his side of the line, wherever Lucas Van Ness was, and extend the play, make a big throw, or ultimately take off and run. And so paired with that is who's gonna spy on Jayden Daniels. You had talked about in our little shared doc here, is it Edgerrin Cooper? I think that's a good option because he has great sideline and sideline speed, just a dynamic player. I also think like it could be Quay Walker because he's the same kind of player, and if they want to use Edgerrin Cooper more around the line to rush the passer when they do blitz, or if they only rush three linemen and then bring in Edgerrin Cooper on a stunt or something, it's gonna be very interesting to see just how they game plan for Jayden Daniels, and because of how dynamic he is as a quarterback.
Yeah, just like kind of looking at like game logs from last year, and really like the Packers didn't face a lot of mobile quarterbacks. Like when you think of their defense, like getting better as the year went on, like we weren't talking about that in week one when they played the Eagles against in Sao Paulo. But then you're going Colts, Titans, Vikings, Rams, Cardinals, like Kyler Murray, obviously week six, but like they didn't really have to face a lot of, I guess, dynamic quarterbacks. Like we're talking about a lot of pocket passers. I it just it's a different flavor or dimension that they hadn't really had to face under the first year of Jeff Halfley. So I think one, it'll be very interesting to see who's kind of more the spy to kind of keep Daniels in check, making sure big plays don't rattle out. If, pockets break down, he busts through the middle of it and sees an open field. Um, Quay Walker's probably done it in the past, and he's obviously a different player than what he was previously. But we know Edgerrin Cooper is kind of like this, sentry ready to go at any moment's notice kind of thing. So I think that to me is just gonna be, super duper important of making sure that if longer plays occur, if Daniels has the time to kind of move around, play kind of playground football, who's going to be there to step up and kind of just could be always watching him. And I think that's going to be very important because it's not even just like we always think of the middle of the defense, we always think about the linebackers, but it certainly will affect how Xavier McKinney, how far back does Xavier McKinney play? Like you want to take away deep routes. You want to take away Terry McLaurin, Debo Samuel, Zach Ertz, but if Jayden Daniels is going to be doing his magic and being a one man offense unto himself, like you just need bodies to kind of always make sure where he's at. And I'm very interested to see how this defense responds to some big plays that he's surely going to be making.
It's also just starkly a different offense that they faced this past week. Like you
Yeah.
spend most of your
Yeah.
training camp preparing for week one, especially for a team like the Lions, a division rival, a game you want to win, right? Jared Goff, like textbook definition of pocket passer, guy that doesn't
Yep.
really leave the pocket much or take off and run, if ever. And so then you go switch that to Jayden Daniels, who, like I said, had 2/3 of his rushing yards last year come while scrambling. He's not afraid to tuck it and go. It's just a totally different game plan for a equally dynamic quarterback and a guy that can hurt you if he's left for time in the pocket. And so
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see just how they navigate that because like I think there'll be times in this game where they don't set the edge and Jay Daniels escapes and takes off for 12 yards. Like that's just going to happen. It's what he does. And so limiting when those happen outside of the red zone will be critically important because like he's fully capable of scampering for a touchdown. Like he just has that athleticism and that ability to do so, and he's quite good at it. Like if you can do it while they're on their own 20 after a kickoff or on their own 35 after kickoff, that's fine. Like let Austin Eckler beat you near the goal line. Uh let him pass near the goal line, like because we saw on Sunday they had success in the red zone against the pass and against the run, and so that I think that'll be very interesting to see just what the game plan is and how successful they are at it. Because I'm not afraid of Jayden Daniels, but he has the full capability of like ruining a game just because of the type of quarterback he is.
And like I think the prevailing listening to like national NFL pods talk about the game and the prevailing kind of takeaways were how toothless the Lions offense looked. But again, the Lions are moving the ball. They had four red zone opportunities, and the Packers limited them to what was it? They were
49.
1 for 4, so probably a field goal.
Oh, in the red zone, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So they were getting it. They were moving the ball. They just weren't scoring. They didn't have the knockout punches to kind of battle back and make it a game against the Packers. So I think with a much more um, kind of I shouldn't say modern, but Jada Daniels brings a offense on to himself that Jared Goff is not capable of doing
Right.
in ways for that are very obvious. So I think that to me is like they're gonna move the ball. Like we can't just say that they get to 20 yada yada yada. It's they're gonna move the ball. It's just a matter of can the Packers keep them off the scoreboard as much as they did against the Lions.
Mm-hmm. Like I fully expect this game to have a lot more scoring than it did on Sunday, at least from the Commanders. They're excuse me, they're a good offense and a dynamic team. Uh, and a little aside before we go on to our next couple of points is that like I'm not super duper high on the running back room from the Commanders. I'm a big fan of Ja'Cory Crockett or Krosky Merritt. Like I think he's going to be a really good running back, and he had the touchdown for them on Sunday when they faced the Giants. He had, I believe, 10 carries. Let me double check the box score here. 10 carries, 82 yards, and a touchdown. And like he was darn good. He outcarried Austin Eckler. But like their three running threats are Jane Daniels, Austin Eckler, and Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. Goes by Bill.
Bill,
Bill, by the way. Bill. And so
I'm just a Bill. Ja'Cory, Kokori.
that's so bad, Jordan. That's
Sorry.
so bad. Um, but like Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, a rookie. Like I think he's an explosive rookie. I think he has a chance to be a good player. But like when your starting running back is Austin Eckler, remember when the Chargers came into town, we saw Austin Eckler run on the sideline with a fridge on his back and get chased down and tackled. Like
Yeah.
he's still that fast.
Yeah.
He's still like an okay running back, and so I'll be curious to see what the success of the running game from the running backs is. And I think that's where the team has to be a little careful. Is I think they're going to see a lot of RPOs where Jayden takes it and runs himself and for 7 8 yards. That's just as effective as handing it off to either running back.
That's going to be big for Rashawn Gary.
Yep, 100%, 100%. And if you were to believe Jerry Jones, Micah Parsons as well. What? What? What are you laughing for?
You're not wrong.
I know. I know. But
Bring me the one package.
so, yeah, I'll be come Thursday night. And if you're still listening to this, I hope you are. Thank you. We're going to be going live on YouTube for the game Thursday night. So go to Talk of the Tundra on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. We'll be live there post game. Uh, so come hang out with us then. But I'll be very happy come Thursday night while we're potting if somehow, some way, the Packers hold the Commanders to under 50 yards rushing. I don't think it's going to happen, but
If you
God,
could do that with Jayden Daniels alone, I think that's a lot more successful.
right, that's what I'm saying. Like Jayden Daniels had 68 yards rushing on Sunday against a not against a pretty good Giants front four. Like that's like the
Yeah.
the one highlight of that Giants team is their front four.
Yeah.
So, alrighty, Jordan, let's talk about Jordan Love. Or you want to talk about explosiveness? That's still defense, so we can talk about that too.
Let's go love. Let's go
You want to
love.
talk about Love, Jordan?
I of course, you know me.
The Commanders allowed the third fewest passing yards per game in 2024. It had the sixth highest blitz rate last year per NFL Pro. In week one, the Commanders generated 22 pressures and 2 sacks while blitzing the Giants 24% of the time on their 39 dropbacks. So about 7 8 blitzes during that game. The Commanders' 22 pressures were the second most of any team during week one. Jordan Love was 9 for 11, had 139 passing yards and converted one of his 2 touchdowns against the blitz with a passer rating of 149.1. So Jordan Love really good week one against the blitz, and a team in the Commanders that brings a lot of juice on that side of the ball. They have Bobby Wagner. They have Frankie Louvu. They have Javon Kinlaw. Like these guys are good. They're veterans. They're an older team for sure, but they have veterans that can really get home against the quarterback. Like Darren Payne is good. It'll be interesting to see. Again, sucks not to have Zach Tom, but I think it'll be interesting to see how this line holds up against a heavily blitzing team led by Dan Quinn, who is a defensive coach. How they stack up on Thursday.
I think it was really interesting. I'm going to make a concerted effort to watch other NFL games that aren't Packers this year because I think watching Monday Night Football between the Bears and Vikings,
It's so sweet. It's so sweet. Did
it's
you
this is not the
go?
yeah,
No, make your
what?
point. Make your point. I'll.
I was saying this is not the reason why I brought it up, but I do think it is watching that game in full, like it is just it's one thing to say like statistics and like blitz percentage, pressure rate, all this stuff. Watching how Brian Flores attacked Caleb Williams in the first half compared to the second half was 9 day. 9 day. So am I thinking that Dan Quinn's going to do the same thing with Jordan Love? No. But I really think the biggest theme that we will probably harp on all year long, and especially come playoff time, these teams are going to test Jordan Love repeatedly. That's going to be sending guys, that's going to be disguising coverages, whatever it is, you name it. Jordan Love is probably going to face it repeatedly. So I think the fact that he looked as good as he did against the Lions, Granted, with I forget who their DC. Oh, Calvin Shepard, as the Pride podcast talked about last week. It's different going against a guy that has literally made his name and has gotten two head coaching jobs as because he's a great defense coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's gonna be. I'm really I'm not excited to see how Dan Quinn might torment Jordan Love, but how can Jordan Love respond to what
Right,
the game plan could be?
right. Because again, not a better defense, but a more established guy, like you said, in Dan Quinn, and who's gotten jobs because of his defensive acumen. Has gotten head coaching jobs, gotten fired, gotten hired as a defensive coordinator, had success, gotten hired as
Yep.
a coach because of his acumen.
Yeah. I truly don't think we'll see as much success in the middle of the field as the Packers did,
Probably not. I'll be curious to see.
especially if that's on tape too, because
Yeah,
teams will see that and probably put that on what not to do in order to avoid
yeah.
such success for the Packers.
I'll be like earnestly curious to see how their corners line up against guys like they have Marshawn Lattimore, who's been fine, I think, since he went to Washington. Like I don't think
He
he's been.
had he had the
This team
he had
also has Von
some
Miller, by the way. I totally forgot that.
I had forgotten that they well and that was the other point that I was gonna make up or bring up from last night watching Vikings Bears is Jonathan Allen was a high profile guy that they cut bait on
Yep,
and he went to Minnesota. That's how their line looks against the Packers O line, which is clear it's gonna be hurting.
yep.
I think that again, not it's gonna loom large. But
Right.
yeah, what was the point? You just said something.
Von Miller
Corners.
corners.
Marshawn Lattimore. I know he had a. It was the Eagles game where he just got picked on relentlessly or something like
Right.
that. But still, they made a very high profile trade to get him in.
This team is starting Trey Amos, the rookie that I was high on for corner at the third round
Hmm.
pick, which is like if you're starting a rookie, the room can't be in a great shape. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you need a guy to step in and fill that spot. The Packers would have been in the same position, but
Yeah.
I think it's definitely interesting that it's Marshawn Lattimore, who I don't have an opinion on right now, but then they have Trey Amos, who's a rookie, and I think Malik Neighbors had a pretty good week last week, 71 yards for 5 catches or something like that. So definitely, definitely interesting. Um, anything else, Jordan? Do you want to talk about explosives like the uh, Packers went to the Lions to 4 explosive plays last week, one run over 10 yards, and uh, posted the lowest explosive rate the Lions have had since the 2021 season. Meanwhile, the Commanders had 8 runs of 10 plus yards, and Jayden Daniels completed 5 passes of 15 plus. So they take shots, that's for sure.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know.
I think part of that too is like getting into the backfield too. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
think like we'll talk about it in players to watch and and that next segment, etc. But like I'll be very curious as to what how they handle Debo Samuel, how they handle Terry McLaurin, because like I said, Debo had a pretty good game on Sunday against the Giants. He had, if I can find the box score quickly, Debo Samuel had 7 catches for 77 yards. Their next highest receiver had was Chris Moore, who had 1 catch for 34 yards. Like Debo Samuel led the team with 10 targets last week. They were really finding him. Terry
Yeah.
McLaurin had 4 targets, 2 catches for 27 yards, and so like I'll be like I said, very curious how it's going to shake out with Debo, who covers them, and how the Packers defend him. Because like Debo, while old and possibly a little thick in the middle nowadays, still a good ball player.
Also motivated.
Also motivated.
Yeah. And McLaurin didn't. He's on a different timeline
Different
compared
timeline.
to
Same thing. Like
because of his contract situation.
Coa's contract hold out. The same thing. He missed all training camp. Finally signs the extension and starts slow against the Giants, which was to be expected. So hopefully he can continue to start slow against the Packers. That would be appreciated.
I would like that.
I would like that too, for Packers purposes. So, alrighty. Score predictions and players to watch. Jordan, who is your? We'll do obviously one from each team. Do you want to start with your commander or start with your Packer?
I'm gonna start with my commander.
Alrighty.
Not my master, but he's the commander. It's a Russell Crowe joke.
Okay.
Um, I'm not gonna be obvious, or am I?
I don't know. You tell me.
Actually, you know what? I'm not gonna be obvious. I'll let you be. You can take him.
Okay.
I do think I'm very interested to see my player to watch is Debo Samuel. I think the secondary between Hobbs's return, recovery, whatever you want to call it, still waiting on his debut. Could come Thursday night. Who knows? Bo Bellin having a shoulder injury, not ideal. They already elevated a cornerback going into week one. We know Keyshawn Nixon, Carrington Valentine. I'm missing someone else who's on the outside. Javon Bullard, probably someone that had an unheralded game but showed up in the box score plenty. Going to be tested a lot between a good wide receiver, pass catching core between McLaurin, Debo Samuel, and Zach Ertz. I just think the unpredictability of how Debo Samuel looks like, is it going to be like a lot of like what he did in San Francisco? The kind of behind the chains or behind even the line of scrimmage that could kind of throw out this defense because you might be selling out so much on Jayden Daniels that you figure it about Debo Samuel. I frankly did not watch the Giants Commanders game because the Commanders just won pretty easily.
You also were
So
at the Packer game.
I was at the Packer game, but I'm just being honest. Like it is, I want to see just how he's used. I want to see what looks he gets. I think we'll probably see plenty of him because of the McLaurin thing that he's still ramping up into full production and action mode. But Debo has had success against the Packers a longer time ago, but he's still someone that could be a threat that, it's a different day and age with the Packers defense, but you want to continue this kind of trend of this is a defense to be feared throughout the season. I think making sure that you take away what looks to be Jayden Daniels' biggest threat, or I guess biggest
Target.
target, yeah,
At
that
least
would
through
go a
1 week.
longer, yeah, through 1 week. It would go a longer way in terms of taking out the threat that is Jayden Daniels to begin with.
Yeah, he's my player to watch. Is Jayden Daniels. Obviously, like a dynamic young quarterback who can run is a quarterback that has always given the Packers problems. Always.
Yeah,
And that would be a huge watermark for this defense to be able to like contain a running quarterback and limit the amount of damage he does while scrambling, while he does outside the pocket, passing near the sideline, kind of stuff like that. Because if we're looking super far ahead, like if we're looking through the rest of the year, we're looking at like other opponents. The Eagles have Jalen Hurts, mobile quarterback. They're going to face him in Week 9. They face the Ravens the week after Christmas. Like that's Lamar Jackson. That's a high profile game near the end of the season when seeding might matter. Maybe they need to win that game to keep up with the division. Like it
they got JJ McCarthy week 17.
sure, not a guy I'm gonna say scrambles. I'm a JJ McCarthy hater.
He was scooting.
He was boot scooting.
He was boot scooting.
Um, but then like the eventuality, if they make it there, Patrick Mahomes,
Shut it! Shut it!
Josh
Shut it!
Allen,
Shut it!
running quarterbacks. Like if they can contain Jayden Daniels, and again, two of these guys they might see in the playoffs: Jalen Hurts and Jayden Daniels, and not to mention Caleb Williams, also a mobile quarterback, guy that loves to scramble. I know, Jordan, I have the same reaction,
I know, I'm
but he
joking.
is a
I thought you're implying that they're
no,
making the
no,
playoffs.
no, 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 no. Just that he is a mobile quarterback, but
He is.
the the that archetype of quarterback has given them problems. If they can set themselves up for success against Jayden Daniels and limit the damage he does scrambling, playing outside the pocket. that bodes well for the rest of the season. It kind of gives them something to look at. As like, here's how we defended them before. Here's how we can do it again. So he's gonna be my player to watch, and hopefully the Packers defense can kind of limit his effectiveness on Thursday night.
I will be devil's advocate. Not that they would purposely do this either, but how that looks will be watched by the Ravens
The
certainly,
Ravens, the
the Eagles
Eagles,
certainly.
the right how they defend against the running quarterback will be studied and how they can combat it. Right,
Yeah, but you gotta stop it to be
but
a
they're gonna try and win the game. So I think they're gonna like kind of give what they have because again, this is gonna be an important game in 3 months. How this game shakes out. If this if this if this these two teams are neck and neck, 1-2 in the conference, it's gonna come down to head, right? Like
yeah.
who won this week 2 matchup on Thursday night, and it could mean the difference between the Packers having a bye and getting to rest up, or having to host a playoff game in the middle of January.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
uh, my Packer to watch is going to be Rashawn Gary. I want to see him replicate the performance he had against Detroit this week. Continue to leverage the presence of Micah Parsons, get those run stops, and just set the edge to make sure that Jayden Daniels is contained. I'm not so much looking for sacks this week. I just want him to be like a technical edge rusher that does his job. I'm not looking for all the extra stuff. I just want to make sure that Jayden Daniels doesn't beat us. I'm fine with anybody else beating us. I don't want Jayden Daniels' run game beating us.
I like that. I think that's a good one. I'm gonna go with someone I don't believe we talked about outside of maybe 10 seconds. I'm gonna go with Josh Jacobs.
Okay.
Week one was pedestrian.
Yep.
Certainly looked a lot better by the end of it than it did for 3 quarters.
As he usually does.
As he usually does, he always makes up for, um, tougher or more rougher games by his lofty standards. I just think it's twofold of if Josh Jacobs is able to get more on the ground, gain more yardage, kind of be more explosive, one, that'll do wonders for how this game will probably look. If not, that puts more onus on Jordan Love to make plays, get things going. The offense we talked about post Sunday game, that it did throttle down in the second half. And they tried to make it work with Josh Jacobs
Yeah.
very early on, and Detroit was having none of it. It still went a long way in establishing play action and plays that made Jordan Love just dissect the defense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can get away with that against the Commanders if Josh Jacobs is, limited to 66 yards like he was in week one. Or, he obviously had a touchdown, but still, like, you want to see more production from him. You just want to see more push from the offensive line, which obviously will open up daylight for Josh Jacobs too. So I think he's just kind of how good he does against this Commanders defense is going to be a big bellwether for how this game goes for the offense. And, you just want to keep it on track.
Yep. Yep. All right. Score predictions. Sir of ye of little faith, picking the Lions to win last week.
Um, Short week success is Matt LaFleur's middle name.
It's a long
Um,
middle name.
it's a very long middle name. I'm gonna go Packers. I think this
How brave of you.
is how dare you? I'm gonna go Packers. I think this is gonna get a little bit more score heavy. I'm gonna go Packers 31, Commanders 27.
I am also going Packers. I think it does get score heavy. I'm going to go Packers 30, Commanders 28. Close game. Close game. So, all right, folks.
Too close for comfort,
Yes.
one might say.
But it's a fun game against a contender. So I don't think it's going to be a blowout either way.
This is I believe when the schedule was released back in May, this is one of the three games or whatever number we put it at that we were like, this is like a circle game.
Yep,
Like
100%.
it's early in the season. It's a big bellwether. Pre-Parsons too. This is going to tell a lot about how we view these or this year's Packers because I
Right,
think week one of last year we were going to say like, how will the Packers look in that game and how it could be instructive for the rest of the season? And we quickly found out that the Packers are a really good team that just didn't have enough to get past the better teams in the NFC.
right. This is also their last home game for a month.
It is.
It's their last home game uh, in a month, and it's their one of two home games in a month and a half. They go Commanders on Thursday, home against the Bengals on October 12th, and then they're not home again until November 2nd. So,
Tough break there.
yeah, tough break, but luckily they have a couple hopefully easy games in there between the Browns, the Cowboys, the Cardinals, and the maybe the Steelers. So,
Yeah,
and the Bengals, who apparently just can't beat the bricks off of a Browns team.
it's classic Bengals.
It is classic Bengals. So, all right, folks, that does it for this episode of Talk of the Tundra. Appreciate you all listening. Be sure to check out gspn.info for all things GSPN. Go check out Ty and Rohan talking on Eurostep. I'd imagine they're talking about Eurobasket as Greece beat Lithuania today. Um, if they win against Turkey, they have a chance to win a medal, guaranteed, which would be big for Greece. Go check out the Packers or the Talk of the Tundra YouTube channel. Like I said, go subscribe, hit the like button on the videos. We'd appreciate it. And um, yeah, check out the Discord, which is in the about section of GSPN.info for the link to get in there and be notified when we go live. So, like I said, we'll be live Thursday night after the game, live on YouTube. We appreciate y'all listening. Come check us out over there for live reactions on hopefully another Packers win, because 2-0 would feel a whole lot better than 1-1, uh, especially against these top two teams in the NFC. So
Yep.
thank you for listening, folks. We appreciate it. And Jordan, thank you.
Thank you.